And we are live. So welcome to Tea with Changelings. The Changeling Artist Collective is a group of fantasy artists from all around the world. And you can find us at changelingartistcollective.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And this YouTube channel is a place where we will discuss all things art related over a cup of tea. And my name is Eeva Nikunen, and I have with me here today artist Heather R. Hitchman.
Hello.
Welcome, Heather. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I cannot see myself on the video. Can you see me on the video?
Let me check. I can actually, yeah. I think it's okay.
Oh, you see me on the YouTube?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Maybe YouTube's just mean to me. Oh, now I see myself.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's just slow, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Do you have your cup, your teacup?
Oh, yes. This is my teacup, everybody.
Oh, what's on it? It's like a nice vintage style.
So actually, there's a cute story behind this teacup. Since it's Mother's Day, this is my grandmother's mug. And it's got lots of cute little like yellow flowers. I love florals. If I'm not wearing a floral, then I'm probably not dressed. I just love florals. So I saw this mug at my mom's house and I was like, I have to have that mug. And she was like, it was your grandmother's. I'm like, give it to me. So now it's my mug.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Nice story. I just have it's a huge one. It has Fill My Cup of Dreams. I thought it was quite nice. My friend gave this mug to me, so it's pretty. So what's our topic today?
Our topic today is Mermay.
And what's Mermay?
So Mermay is a month of Sorry, let me backtrack. Mermay is an artist hashtag. And for those of you who don't know what an artist hashtag is, it's basically an artist prompt to encourage artists around the world to participate in a monthly theme of art. I think the first one was called Inktober, and that was basically a bunch of ink drawings in October. Mostly people do like kind of scary stuff because it's Halloween time. So the fad caught on and lots of other artists started making their own hashtags. And Mermay was started by artist Tom Bancroft because he loves mermaids. And so basically the whole point of Mermay is to draw mermaids and merfolk all through the month of May. So that's what I'm doing, and a bunch of other artists are doing it as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Like this is your second time doing Mermay, is it?
Yes, so last year was my first year doing Mermay. I think I did 10 drawings. Most people who do these artist prompts, they like to do like a quick sketch every day. I prefer to make my drawings a little bit more finished and make prints of them and things like that. So I opt to do one pretty much every other day. And all of my pieces come with a little story as well. So that takes time as well to add the little story to the artwork. So this year I'm doing something a little different. I'm actually working on a continual story. So last year when I did Mermay, each mermaid had their own little story that was a part of the bigger world that I'm writing for, but each story could stand on its own. This year I'm actually doing each piece tells a story in chronological order, but they can also stand alone as well. So if somebody wanted to buy an original or a print and they didn't have the whole story, it could still like be a nice piece on its own.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you like start like months before for the event or planning for it, or did you start the art like on the first day of Mermay, or how did you do it?
Well, that's the ideal situation. I've been really busy, so my pre-planning basically included coming up with the story arc that I wanted to tell and coming up with very loose mock-ups. I have my sketchbook right here I can show really quick, and I won't have to worry about spoiling anything because my handwriting's so bad you won't be able to tell what I did. Ooh. So I do like these beat sheets where I do lots of little scribbles and lots of writing to try to figure out what my pieces are going to be. So I've got about 10 pieces planned plus a painting I'm working on. So that's
Yeah,
the pre-planning.
yeah, that's really cool. We can talk a little bit more about your IP later, but what you're kind of doing is um, like having the Mermay and your own IP Teratop kind of like meet. So you can kind of like do the hashtag, but also create art for your own projects. So I just thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So a few years ago, I've actually been working on my world of Terratoff for years. For those of you who've never heard of my work before, I'm building a world called Terratoff. It's a paranormal fairy tale that combines the fun of fantasy creatures and uh, paranormal activity and theology. So this has been an idea I've had for years, but I could never find the time to work on it. And eventually I just had the epiphany. If I'm working on any personal work, it really should just be Terratoff, because combining personal work with client work, with taking care of a household and everything else I have going on in my life, it was just, that was the only way I could make time. So that's why I decided to start working in these hashtags with my world building, because it was a really great way to push myself to make content for the world, get my work out there in the artist community where people are looking to see new work, and also help me with the creative process of coming up with new ideas and stories.
Where did you first find out about Mermay? Did you just see it like on Instagram, or did you hear about it anywhere?
I probably first heard about it on Instagram. That's where I hear about all the different hashtags.
Yeah.
I'm not very good on Twitter yet, so, so I mostly find out about all the hot hashtags through Instagram.
Yeah. And you put out like put up a Facebook event like for your Mermay, didn't
Sorry.
you?
Yes, I did. I burped a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
It's the tea. Yeah, so basically to get people excited about Mermay, I make a Facebook event and invite people that I think might be interested so that they know immediately when Mermay launches and they can follow along. A lot of my collectors want to know because depending on what month it is, some of the artwork gets claimed and bought very quickly. My biggest month is actually Junicorn, which is a month of unicorns, which is coming up next. So
Yeah.
I have to get ready for that soon too.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel like you get more like traction or new followers and new people interested in your art when you're doing like this hashtag
100,
campaigns?
100%
Yeah.
yes. If you are an artist who is trying to get your work out there and get it seen by more eyes, doing these artist hashtags is a really great way to build your audience. Not only are you participating in the community, but there are people that want to see this artwork, so they're looking for those hashtags. So your art will be included in all of that if you tag it on Instagram or Twitter. And there's also a good chance that the person who started the hashtag will go and look at it. And that's usually an artist that's, accomplished in the field. So that's never a bad thing.
Yeah, I went to their website. I think they feature different artists like on their website, the front page, who do the hashtag. So you might get featured on there. Or
Yeah, I started my own hashtag actually in March. I started March of the Fawns, which was all fawns. And
yeah.
whenever I saw anybody else do a March of the Fawns, I would retweet it. I would collect my favorite ones, and I would do like a featured post on my Patreon. I would give them shout outs on Instagram. Like I collected them all like in a collection. So if people want to browse my collections and they see the March of the Fawns, they won't just see my art, but they'll see all the other March of the Fawns that I found during the month. So yes, definitely participate if it works in with your workflow, I would say.
Yeah, that's cool. I just want to say, like, if people are watching, if people have questions, you can post in the chat and we will be happy to answer any questions that you have or comments or anything. So,
Yes.
and can you tell a little bit about like what materials do you use? Like, what's your process when creating art?
Sure. So to do that, I'm going to switch to my other camera so you can see a mermaid I completed earlier this week. So let's switch to this one where you can see. Okay, So this is called the Merlion Cub, and this is typically what I will work on. I do like these kind of rendered drawings. This is Moleskin sketchbook paper. It's from the bigger sketchbook, so the paper is a little bit thicker than the 8x10 size. I think this size is 8.5 by 11-ish. I will transfer the artwork with a light box because I almost always start with a digital mock-up. So I'll take that digital mock-up, I'll print it out really lightly on just regular printer paper, and I'll use a light box to transfer it. And then I have this really meticulous process where I just layer on color. So I'll start with very thin, very light colored pencil. It's actually mechanical lead that I use for the first pass. And then I go in with Tombow colored pencils to get the richer color. And then when I'm ready to kind of clean everything up, I go in with a 4B graphite mechanical pencil and get the harder lines and get like the dark, like around his eyes here and everything. So that's my process for the drawings. I also have a painting I'm working on. Can I talk about?
Yeah, please.
So I have a Twitch channel, and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST, I work on a painting. So this is the painting I'm working on now. This is actually one of my Mermay designs from last year. She's called The Gardener, and her story is that she has been delivered this rose in this glass from a sailor from above, and it's basically an imported gift. She can't hold on to it for too long because it's not going to survive underwater, but it's just like a nice little thing she has. So I do a slightly different process to transfer the art when it comes to my paintings because the paper is so thick, I can't use a light box. So I will print it out right onto the paper at a low opacity, redraw it with graphite or Tombow pencils, and then I start layering on the color, starting with a ink wash. For this one, I used Liquitex ink. I used a mixture of black and blue, and I do that to get in the shadows and the values. After I'm done with that phase, I will go in with a wash of watercolor. I've been using, let me grab one. I've been using Van Gogh watercolors, which are nice, but I'd like to upgrade to something more artist grade and just give it a try them out.
Yeah, do you have like a special printer that you can print on like high quality paper?
I use a Epson 1490, I think is the number, but I wouldn't say it's really good for that. I end up wasting a lot of paper because the printouts don't come out right because it's really not good at handling that kind of paper. So I will probably be upgrading eventually. I think Wiley Beckert has a good printer for that because that's who I learned how to do this from. Right now I'm in the gouache phase, and I use Winsor Newton gouache to kind of render everything and make it all look nice. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch back to my camera now so you can see my face.
Yay. Yeah. So you do quite a lot of like before you start your paintings, you do a lot of sketching to come up with the ideas and everything, like planning.
Yeah, well, right now I've been working on a series of art that I've done in previous years as drawings that I'm now turning into paintings. So I haven't been doing a whole lot of sketching as of late for the paintings. However, whenever I do start something fresh, then yeah, I do go through a thumbnailing process like I showed you in my sketchbook with the Mermay drawings. I'll sketch out a bunch of thumbnails and try to figure out the best placement for everybody and the colors. Pre-planning the colors is crucial for me because if I don't do that, then I'll kind of get lost. So I really appreciate having the ability to do artwork in Photoshop ahead of time because then I can plan out my colors and I keep the color mock-up open on my screen while I'm painting, so then I can just glance at it and make sure that I'm getting the right colors.
Oh yeah, so you try out colors on Photoshop and then refer to that when you're doing the actual painting.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I was a digital artist for years, and I didn't really do a whole lot of traditional work.
Yeah.
So, past 3 years, I've kind of been migrating to doing a lot more traditional work for my personal artwork. I still do mostly digital, or well, pretty much exclusively digital for client work. Um, so I'm kind of the new kid when it comes to traditional art, but I have like 20 years of experience doing digital. So I like to use those tools to help me with my process whenever I can.
Yeah. What inspired you to like start traditional art again?
That's an interesting story. So when I was a kid, I used to sketch all the time. My bedroom was in the basement, and I didn't have a carpet, and I would just lie on the cement floor and listen to the radio and draw all night long. And that was like my happy place. And then I went through some personal stuff in college, and I stopped drawing for like 2 years. And it was a really rough time, and I was having it was a really big struggle for me to try to get back in love with art. Like, I knew this was what I wanted to do, but when you haven't done art for so long, you kind of have there's this wall you have to break through, and it just doesn't come as natural anymore. Like, I wouldn't just come home and draw like I used to. I'd have to force myself, and it was really hard. So I started thinking about what it was like when I was a kid. And I was like, when I was a kid, I would lie on my stomach on a cement floor in a basement with like no comfort whatsoever. And I would still draw. Like, there has to be something like going on here. So I realized that I was just working on work that I didn't really like. I was focusing a lot more on client work and not my own personal work. So that was kind of a turning point when I decided to work a lot more on Terratoph. Then I started to get out in the art scene more, and I would go to a lot of different galleries. Here in Orlando, we have lots of Disney galleries. So I would go to the Disney galleries a lot, and I really love Disney characters, and I love the artwork. Bambi is my favorite. And
Yeah.
I've always thought, wow, what a great job that would be to be one of the artists that does those paintings. So when we were at the gallery one day, and I asked one of the curators, I was like, what does somebody have to do to get to do this? You know, I'm an artist and I would like to do this one day. And he said, what kind of art do you do? And I said, mostly digital. And he kind of was like, he like made this face. He's like, well, we don't really use a lot of digital artists. You know, we like to have an original to sell. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to get back into traditional drawing. And that sounds like a silly reason, but it kind of was just something that confirmed in me at the time that I should be going more traditional, because I was thinking back to when I was a kid and I would just draw in my sketchbook. That came a lot more naturally to me than trying to do a fully rendered painting all the time on the computer. Because part of my problem was I would plan these big elaborate scenes, but they would take months to finish. So I would post it online. I'd get a little bit of, you know, a blip of traction, and then I'd just fade away because I'd go back and work on the painting for months. And I started to realize I'm not putting out work fast enough to get my career where I want it to be.
Yeah, that's kind
And
of, I can like, if I can just say, like, I can kind of like relate to that because I'm a really slow painter as well. Like I
mhm.
work on a painting like for a few months. So that's why I like to do drawings, like graphite drawings, because I can do those like much faster than like oil paintings. So yeah, like you said, I think it's good to have like something that you can post so people can see that you're working on stuff, even if it's just like sketches and like what you're planning and everything.
Oh, definitely. And I think there's just a lot more appeal even for showing work in progress if it's traditional versus digital.
Yeah, and it's funny because like on Instagram or even like Twitter, Facebook, like I kind of like feel like people really enjoy those like work in process, like just sketchbook doodles and stuff. Like I get a lot of like lot more comments and everything like on sketchbook stuff than like maybe like a final painting, which is like sometimes a little bit like I worked on this like painting for months, and like I did this sketchbook page like in one day, but you know, that's just how it goes. Just to say, like, people, like, I really enjoy seeing people's like process, so it makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you know, those paintings, they sell really well at conventions, so don't stop doing those.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I love painting, but just like I'm just sometimes like really stressed out because it takes me such a long time to do like one painting. I like kind of feel like I don't have anything to share, but
Hmm.
thankfully, like, I can do the drawings and I can share those. So
Yep, I like to say that I'm slow and impatient. So that's why I
yeah.
started focusing more on doing lots of drawings and smaller paintings, stuff that I can create like a small collection of work in a month.
Do you kind of like, you only share your own IP like on your social media? You don't really share your client work that much.
Yep, I pretty much never share client work unless it's a project that I really, really love and needs to get some more attention, or there's like a Kickstarter going on for the project and I want people to back it so that the project can happen and I can get paid.
Yeah.
um, we actually just did a Kickstarter for We Beasties, which is one of my clients. And the great thing about that project is I really get to work in my own style. So even though it's not Terra Top, I do share the work that I'm doing for that a little bit more than I normally would for my client work, because Andy, the woman I'm working with, who's fantastic, she gives me a lot of creative leeway to kind of like do what I want to do. So it's a really great working relationship. And so I don't mind sharing that. But in general, I prefer to keep my brand very in focus, and I don't like to talk or show other artwork unless it's in the context of me sharing my experiences as an artist to help other artists get into freelancing and working with clients.
Yeah, I think it's good because like if you start sharing, if you mostly share your own paintings and from your own world, like if you just like start posting other art, it may like confuse people. So that's a really good point. Like just kind of like editing what you share, like not don't share everything, like share, like have like a continuing theme with the art you share with people.
Yep, and the people that are following me, they're probably not to say anything against my clients, but they're probably not interested in seeing that anyway.
Mm, yeah.
The people that are following my clients are interested in seeing that from them. Unless, like I said, it's something that's more in my style, then my audience might want to see more of that, I think. But I mean, I don't think I see a lot of client work from you either. Don't you usually just share your own work as well?
Yeah, that's what I do as well. I only share like things that I would put like publicly share in my own portfolio, and just like things that fit into the world that I'm kind of building, or the feeling I'm feeling with my drawings and paintings. So that's what I do as well. I think it's like it takes a little bit time to kind of figure out what you should share and shouldn't share. Like when
Mm.
I look back, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have shared like those things. Like those things don't have nothing to do with like what I want to do. So, but you kind of learn as you're doing it. So
Yeah, I mean, I've been freelancing, quote unquote. I've been taking commissions since I was in middle school, and I used to share everything I drew, and nothing
yeah,
had anything to do with each other. And that's how I got a lot of jobs drawing stuff I didn't like,
yeah,
which
yeah,
was what led to that depression spell. So once I changed my outlook on my art, and I really focused on, okay, well, what kind of work do I want to do? I have to take freelance because I'm not really that good at much else. So I have to take freelance doing art stuff. So what is holding me back from getting these jobs? And I looked at my portfolio and I was like, it's all commission work for furries and people's OCs and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with those things.
Yeah.
But that's not really what I wanted to do as an artist. I wanted to do more fantasy and fairy tale stuff. So I started focusing on my own fantasy and fairy tale art. And for a while, there was a dry spell where my audience was changing. The people who were following me for all of my old commission artwork, they were like, oh, well, she's not doing that anymore, so I'm not really interested. And then I started getting attention from new people who were like, oh, well, this is the kind of art I like, and this is what I want to hire someone to do. So once that transition was completed, then I was able to get jobs doing art that was much closer to the realm of art that I wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah, I've been seeing like you've been building your Patreon page. How long have you had that? Like 1 year now, or around 1 year?
It'll be a year in the official launch, I believe, was on July 22nd. I did a secret launch in June last year because when I started the Patreon, I knew I wanted to launch it, but I thought I need to have some strategy about this. And one of the things that I think turns people away from social media or a website or what have you is when you go to the website and there's no content, there's nothing there. So if I had just launched my Patreon and there was nothing there, then no one was going to pledge. So I actually contacted some close friends and other artists and personally, and I said, hey, I'm starting a Patreon and I'm going to do like a private launch so I can start building content. So when I do the public launch, there will be like a month's worth of content there. So when people come, they can see the kind of work I'll be doing. Would you pledge or do a pledge for pledge with me so that I can start having a good foundation with this? And everyone said yes. So once I launched in July, I already had, I think, at least 8 patrons already there, and I had a month's worth of content. So people, instead of seeing nothing and being like, oh, well, there's nothing going on here, it's like entering a party with no one in the room. It's like, oh, this is lame. When people came to my party, there were people having cocktails, you know, we were talking about art, and it was awesome. And I was able to get people more interested faster.
Yeah, so you like your Patreon is only your IP Teratop, so it's built around that world. And like,
yep.
How do you see like how does your like your core audience, like when you're doing this like hashtags, like for example Mermay, like do you like do anything different in those months like with your patrons? Do you have like giveaways or competitions or anything like that?
Sometimes it kind of varies from month to month. So I've done, well, every month they always, $5 and up, they always get first refusal. So they get to see the artwork before anybody else does, and they get a chance to buy it first, which is usually why when I post it publicly, I'm like, sorry, it's already sold. A patron got it. You should like, you should be my patron, so then you can get it too. I will do themed giveaways. So let me try to think if a recent giveaway I did. I will either, so, okay, when I did March of the Fawns, I had some fawn characters that had birds as their companions. So one of them had a little owl companion, one of them had a swan, and one of them had a raven. And as I mentioned before, all my work is really story-based. So all the characters have names and backgrounds, but I decided to give my Patreons a chance to name these bird characters. So I was like, hey, guys, you can name these bird characters. I'll pick a winner, and the winners will get like a print of each of the characters once the prints come out. And that was really popular. Everyone loved coming up with different names. Like I gave them information like this is who they belong to, this is their element, and I got some really insightful suggestions, and it was really hard to pick the names, but they were really good. So I'll probably do that again at some point. I was actually thinking of doing that for Mermay because we have a little story going on, and I haven't thought of any names for anybody yet. They also get coloring pages. So every month I do a coloring page, and whenever I'm doing a themed month, I will make the coloring page go along with the theme. So for March of the Fawns, we had a fawn one, and for Mermay, I'll probably either do the Mermacorn or the Merline Cub. For Junicorn, it's a unicorn, which is always a little puzzling to me because unicorns are white. So I'm like, here's a coloring page of something that's white.
Yeah, well,
I'm like,
you
you
can
can maybe
color it
make
like rainbow colors, I guess.
exactly. I'm like, you
Yeah.
can make your unicorn different colors if you want. And then for Smallest, I do dragon one.
Yeah. Have you ever done like a giveaway to get people into your Patreon? Like a limited time giveaway to sign
Yep.
up?
Every couple of months, I'll do a giveaway. I call it a pledge drive. And I
Yeah.
saw Pete Moorbacher do that. He created an enamel pin and was basically promoting the pin and saying, if you join my Patreon at any tier, you get this pin for free. And he got a ton of patrons. So I tend to do mini pledge drives every couple of months. So the last one I did, I gave all of my patrons a sticker. So here's the sticker that I gave away, this little Kitsune sticker.
That's cool.
And I did a little ACEO drawing. It's not within arm's reach, so I can't show you. It's all the way over there. But I did a little drawing that I gave away as well. I haven't picked the winners yet, but I will soon. And I've given away on Christmas time. I got a huge package of stuff together. I got limited edition prints. I had a sketchbook that I had printed on Redbubble, and I had a bunch of ACEOs and greeting cards and all kinds of stuff with my design. And I was like, somebody's going to win a huge Christmas present from me.
Yeah, those are really fun. Like people get excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Another thing I do exclusively for my patrons is I do lots of secret drawings and secret art that only they get to see, that the public won't get to see until it's published. So they really enjoy that. They like to get more stories and more art that other people aren't going to get to feast their eyes on for a while. So that's another thing that I do for them. Do you have a Patreon yet?
I don't. I've been thinking about it, but like you said, like I want to, like I really have to plan it, like do some planning to like really start, so I know I will have time to post content and kind of like engage with the patrons and everything. So
yeah.
So that's like what I'm really interested in, like what you're doing. I think it's like working so well. So I've been like following what you've been doing, and
thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that you're watching me, because I probably do a lot of Patreon no-nos.
Oh, really?
But they work for me, which is really weird.
What's a Patreon no-no?
So one of the big Patreon no-nos I've heard is like, don't post too much, like just like once or twice a month. I'm like, I post almost at least, I won't say every day, but I will post maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And that's a lot for Patreon. However, it's always new content. It's always a new image and a story, or a sneak peek to an image and a story. So I'm not really rehashing a lot of stuff. So I think that really works well. And because my stories are really short, they're only like a paragraph long, and I have a lot of collectors that are readers, I think it's content that they want to see. And I don't approach it as a way to sell. You know what I mean? Like, it's content first, ask at the end. You know? So I always post all of the art and the story, and at the bottom, small, by the way, if you want to buy this, here's how.
Do you have like physical giveaways? Oh, no, physical like Patreon levels. If they pledge, you send a like physical gift, or is it all like just digital content?
I do a lot of mail-in rewards. And at first it was a little overwhelming, because it was a lot of extra work. And that's actually another Patreon no-no. Don't do a lot of mail-in rewards. However,
yeah, I'm like super scared about that. Like you end up just like mailing stuff. Like you have your website sales, you have to mail all those, and then like on top of that, you would have like your Patreon pledges. Like you have to mail those. Just like, where do you find the time to do it?
Yeah, that's a really good point that I want to talk about, because I've heard lots of people say that it's a no-no, but you can make it work, because I'm focusing on traditional art. That's what people are coming to me for, right? So
Mm.
what is the big appeal about traditional art? The fact that there is an original. So being able to give my patrons originals every month really just cements our relationship as a patron and artist, and it gets them really excited about the work. So I really enjoy doing it. If you're doing digital art, then there is no original. So then you have to be creative and come up with ways to give content from your digital creations. But when it comes to traditional, I feel like, that's what people are there for. They're there for the physical. So here's how I've handled it. Here's how I've worked it in so that I can make the most of my traditional rewards. Okay. So the mailing thing was a pain in the butt. So last month I invested in an account with stamps.com, and I also got a heat label printer. So what that lets me do is it lets me store all of my patrons that get regular mail-in rewards in my stamps.com account. I can batch a whole bunch of stamps right there and just print them out either on my label printer, or I figured out a way actually that I can even print right on an envelope with my laser jet printer. So before I was handwriting them all, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, it's taking me a day just to handwrite all these envelopes, and there's not even that many of them. There was like 30. It's not a whole bunch. So doing that really helped expedite the process. I'm also trying to make art that I would reuse again. So what I mean by that is when I do my ACEOs and I do my sketches and I do my higher level rewards, I always scan all the artwork and I have it all documented so that when I get to the point where I'm making the physical book and I'm making the website, I can reuse that artwork to be able to fill in my lexicon with more content. So when people go to the Terratoff website that I am rebuilding and they look up mermaids, they'll see not just all of the mermaid art that I've posted on Instagram and all that, but they'll see the Patreon rewards too. And I use that Patreon reward artwork as those secret stories that I was telling you about. So everybody who gets a physical reward, they get a little bit of art and they get a little bit of story. And then the $10 and up patrons, they get to see those as a private post as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really have to look into that because like I see many artists today, they have their Patreon, so I think it's really something to look into. But it does take a lot of planning and like scheduling and everything. And
yep. But the great thing is if you're doing well with Patreon, then that's less client work you have to take.
Yeah.
So then that frees up more time.
Yeah, and it's also like a really good way to like connect with your key audience. Kind of like it's really nice to get to know people who follow your work. Like actually, like they're like kind of like put a face on the name of people you see online. So.
Oh yes. When we went to the One Fantastic Workshop and we met Annie Stagg, I was like, why don't you have Patreon yet?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh, well, I've been thinking about it. And I was like, girl, let me tell you, when I joined Patreon, I wanted to be your patron so bad because to me, Patreon is like a secret club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was really sad that I couldn't be in your secret club because it didn't exist yet. And she was like, oh. So yes, artists, Patreon is your secret art club for your most bestest collectors and friends. So, if you have a decent enough audience, you can expect about a 10% turnover from your current audience to go onto Patreon. So let's say you have 2,000 followers on Instagram. Well, that's probably 20 patrons right there.
Yeah. And also like, do you also do a mailing list like on top of the Patreon?
So I have had a mailing list, and for a long time it was ignored, which was bad.
Yeah.
But I've started reviving it because the Facebook and Instagram algorithms are making it more difficult for artists to get their work out there. So I totally rebranded my newsletter, where now instead of just me putting it out there when I have something to sell, I've been using it more as, like I said, content first, ask second. And I made that decision after watching a recent episode of One Fantastic Week where Pete Moorbacher said, people come up to me and tell me they look forward to my newsletter. I was like, oh, damn, I bet nobody looks forward to my newsletter. I was like, I wouldn't even want my newsletter. Like, oh, I got to change this. So I had like a powwow with myself. And I was like, okay, what can I do to make people excited to read my newsletter? I have to give them something. I have to give them content. And I thought about, well, what do my patrons always want? They always want more art and more stories. So I rebranded my newsletter into art and a story in your inbox.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
Thank you. It's very simple. It's got the art at the top, story at the bottom, a little blurb about how I made it. And then at the bottom, if you want to buy this, here it is. And then a little piece of artwork with a fawn reading the book, and it says, thank you for reading my stories every week. Stay tuned for the next art and story. And after I started doing that, I actually got people responding to my emails saying, I really liked this one, thanks. I'm like, oh my god, no one's ever responded to a newsletter before. This is cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Do you have a newsletter?
I do, yeah. I send a pretty regular emails, maybe around like once every 2 weeks, but I always try to have like new content, new art that I can share with people. Lately I've been doing, because I've been working on a book, like an illustrated journal. So lately all my emails have been kind of like surrounded around that project, kind of like sharing with people all the new drawings that I've made for the book, and also had a little like pre-order campaign. So I let people know about that, like through the email list. I always try to think like what, like if I were following an artist, like what kind of emails would I like to get? I always like try to think like that. So
yep,
I try to not do it like too like salesy. I try to provide, like if someone like went through the trouble of like subscribing to my mailing list, like I suspect that they want to see my drawings and paintings, so I'm gonna show those, but also like also let them know like if they're for sale, because I bet people want to know. And but also maybe share something. I always try to write my emails like if I'm like meeting someone for coffee, like at a coffee shop that I haven't haven't really seen for a while. I'm just telling like what I've been up to, kind of like that kind of, so it doesn't really like, it sounds more natural, I think, kind of like, hey, this is what I've been up to, like, and these are like the new art that I've been doing and everything. So
I think that's really great, doing it in a conversational way.
Yeah, it kind of like feels better, like not just, I don't want to just send like these paintings are for sale and shop now button. It doesn't really work like that. So like always trying to figure out a way to like what do people want to hear and like what do they want to see. So it's a learning process as well. So
yeah, I mean, since I collect art, or mostly art prints, I don't have a ton of originals yet.
Yeah.
But since I like to buy art as well, I think about, if this artist was going to do a newsletter, what would, like an artist that I like, what would I want to see in it? Probably want to see their artwork. I'd want to know a little bit more about like how they made it. I basically want more information than what they're just putting out there on Instagram and Facebook, and maybe to see some stuff that other people don't get to see. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, it's definitely been working a lot better than I just made a new piece of artwork, you can buy it now, here it is.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, this strategy worked way better. So thanks, Pete Moorbacher, for bringing that up on One Fantastic Week. That was very nice.
Yeah.
So, with your sketchbook, How was that? How did that go for you?
The illustrated journal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was it's a project that I've been working on for the past 6 months, about 6 months. I've been planning it for much longer than that, but I just like really started it 6 months ago, and it was um, an illustrated journal. It's called Enchanted Valley, and it's kind of like this little journal that you can write in, but it's also like fully illustrated by me. And the idea behind that was like I like to do a lot of pencil drawings, and I was kind of like I wanted to give those drawings a home, like collect them in a book, in a collection, so people could like understand the drawings and like have them in this like same world, so it would all like come together. So that was my idea. So and yeah, I've been like getting really good feedback, and I had the pre-order campaign. At the moment I'm waiting for the books to arrive from the printers, so I can start sending them out to people, and then I will have it like I can sell it on my website and have it at conventions and everything. So, and I'm actually planning on starting the second book in the series. So
Ooh.
look forward to volume 2 in that series. So I've been kind of like I don't really feel like I'm an art. Like I don't want to just work on one thing, like on one world. Like you have like your Teratop that you've been working on like for ages. Like I understand like it's something like from your childhood or something. So you've had it like for a long, long time. But kind of like what I'm thinking, like I want to do these like little projects, like smaller. Like I could have like one book in this world, and the next book could be like in a totally another theme or something. So
Right,
just
because you
kind of
don't
like,
want to. Sorry.
yeah, I kind of like don't want to because I kind of feel like I want to explore all these different worlds. So just like that's kind of like how I'm approaching things. So I really don't know like what I want to work on next. So keeping my options open.
Yep, I totally understand that. By the way, Amanda's here in the
Hello,
chat. Hi,
Amanda.
hi, Amanda. And I see we've got other people watching too who are maybe a little shy. So
Yeah.
hello to you as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So great that people joined us for our first live
woohoo.
stream. So I hope
First,
we're doing a good job.
yes, let us know how we're doing in the chat. You can even tell us we suck. We can take it.
Yeah. No. No.
Um, so what were we talking about? We were talking about your sketchbook and how your process is that you like to keep your options open. And I
Yeah.
totally understand that because a lot of people, they feel like if they do a project like mine, then they're going to end up drawing the same thing all the time. And that's not necessarily true. That's why I am doing a world, because there's lots
Yeah.
of different things in the world. I get to draw mermaids and unicorns and dragons. I get to draw all the different things that I want to do. So it works for me because it's just enough freedom where I can, have some variety in my work and not get bored. People, I think, really respond to my unicorns, and I love drawing them, but I'd like
Yeah.
to draw other things as well. So it's a nice
Yeah.
balance for me.
Yeah. You can kind of draw anything for your world.
Yeah. Um, but I have thought about what's going to happen after Teratop, like once I have finished the story. Oh, N's Art Studio is here.
Oh,
Hello.
hello. Hello.
And Amanda says, I forgot YouTube uses my real name. LOL. Don't worry, Amanda. I won't tell them who you are. I know who that is. um, I have thought about, what comes after Teratop. And this might sound really outlandish, but I think if I ever do get to a point where I have no more stories in Teratop to tell, I might do something in sci-fi. I don't
Oh
know.
wow. I'm excited to see that.
This might be something I do like when I'm 80, just to like really throw people off. Because I really love Doctor Who and I really love the video game Mass Effect. Um, I'm not like really a huge Star Wars or Star Trek fan, but there are some sci-fi IPs that I really do like, and I always thought it might be really cool to explore other worlds and outer space and see what kind of other creatures there might be beyond the stars. So maybe one day when I'm old and gray and everyone's forgotten about Teratop, or Teratop is really famous and on everybody's bookshelves already, I'll be like, you ready for something totally different?
That's really cool because, like, for example, like I like what I'm working on right now. It's like I really like this kind of like Victorian and kind of like Victorian mixed with like magical like fantasy themes. That's kind of like what I'm really interested in. But I also like sci-fi, but I haven't really done any like sci-fi art. But like as you said, like it would be really interesting to kind of like get off the normal like what you do every day, just kind of like explore a little bit more. So yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah,
Maybe
it would.
someday we will be able to see that from you.
Yeah, you too. I love your Victorian ladies, but it would be really cool to
Like,
see some sci-fi stuff too. Maybe they can be Victorian ladies in space.
yeah, I would really like that. Like I immediately like think of like like some kind of like steampunk thing.
Oh yeah, or like futuristic, like
Yeah.
umbrellas and things
Oh, that would be really cool.
made of lace and steampunk things. But yeah.
Yeah. Thinking of speaking of the mermaid hashtag, like what are other hashtags are there like coming, like what people could like join next?
Oh my goodness. Well, now there's so many hashtags out there. You can Google artist prompts and probably find a billion. I wish I had the time to do one every month, but I
Yeah.
don't. That's a question I get a lot actually when I'm at conventions, because I have the prints organized by month and people want their birthday month. And if I don't have their
Oh,
birthday month, they're very sad. But some months it's literally impossible for me to do them because of my living situation. I live in Florida and
mhm.
we get hurricane season.
Oh
And
yeah.
I, when before I did March of the Fawns, I was doing Saturember, which is satyrs in September. So it's kind of the same thing, but just a different month. But that's like right in the heat of hurricane season here in Florida. And last year we had to evacuate. So I had to abandon um, Saturember, and it was really sad. So that's why I decided I should do it another time when that won't happen. So there's tons of them out there. I do March of the Fawns. This was my first year doing March of the Fawns. I do Mermay in May. That's all mermaids, which I'm doing right now. This is my second
Mm.
year doing Mermay. I've done Junicorn. This will be my third year doing Junicorn. So Junicorn's the oldest one. That was the first one I did. And that's a month of unicorns in June. And then August is some August. And that's when I do all dragons. And I'm kicking around the idea of doing Deer December, which will be deer in December. I just don't know how that would work with holiday commissions. So I'll have to wait
Mhm.
and see. Perhaps if my Patreon picks up enough where I have more financial stability through that avenue, then I won't have to look for so many commissions during the holidays and I can do something like that. Because a lot of people have been asking for Deer December, but I'm like, I need a break sometimes. I'm already doing like 5.
Yeah.
Do you do any
Well,
hashtags?
I haven't really like dedicated myself to any of the hashtags yet, but I've been doing like one drawing here or there sometimes when I have time. But I would really like to do like try something like 1 month to like really dedicate myself to post almost every day, like with that hashtag.
Yep. M's Art says, oh, never heard of Junicorn before. That sounds like fun. That's my favorite one. I love
Yeah.
Junicorn. That was what like put me on the map.
Yeah, I remember last year, like you were posting those, like they were really popular. Your unicorns.
I don't use Tumblr much, but when I do, and I post like the Junicorns on there, oh my God, those
Yeah.
posts blow up, which is good. So artists out there, if like I said, like we talked about before, if you missed it, if you're looking for a way to grow your audience and any of these hashtags fit into what you're currently doing, definitely try them out. It's a really good way to get your work seen.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking for about an hour.
I know.
It flew by. I was like, maybe 40 minutes is good, but like it's already 1 hour. So maybe we should like start wrapping this thing up. Is there like, we kind of like actually just said it like advice for people, like how to use
like
hashtags to grow your audience and everything. So
like a final word of advice.
Yeah, if you have anything.
Well, like you said, I already did that. You should look up look up artist hashtags. You can make your own, or you can look up really popular ones like Mermay and Inktober are really big ones. So yes, definitely try out the artist hashtags if you want to grow your audience. And you wanted to say something about our Changeling auction that's coming up before we go, right?
Yeah, so we are this group of fantasy artists from all around the world. I'm from Finland, that's why I have a weird accent. So we have people, like most people are from the US, and then we have people from the UK and Australia and everywhere in Europe and everything. So, and we do an auction on Facebook once every 2 months now, and it's a really fun event. We always have like a theme for every auction, and this month's theme is alchemy, which I think is really cool and really interesting. And the auction takes place on Facebook, and it starts on May 21st, and it ends on May 20th. Wait, I wrote it down. Well, on Friday on that week. I'm sorry, 25th, I think.
It will end one day.
Yeah. The important thing is that it starts May 21st, and you can find Changeling Artist Collective on Facebook. And you can see all the art that we post. Like, we post art like almost every day, like from our artist pages, and you can see like what everyone is working on. And I think it's really fun. Like, so like everything is kind of like fantasy themed, but there's also like such a like diverse group of artists. Like, everyone has their own style. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So for those of you who weren't here earlier, if you don't know what a collective is, it's just a group of artists that have kind of like-minded approach to art. And we do the auctions as a way for us to market and sell our artwork out to the world of collectors. But we also share lots of insight about the art world and what's going on just in the fantasy genre in general. And we have like sneak peeks and like tips and tricks. So if you're not a fan of our Facebook page and you'd like to be, check us out, because there's a lot of great content there. Lots of really great people that you could meet to grow your own network.
Yeah, and also please like this video if you liked it, because that will help us. I hope we will have like lots of more videos here. We will have more changelings as guests, and we will always have like topics to talk about and just have fun talking about art.
Yes, give us a thumbs up, because that will help us get some traction with the algorithms. And if you like what you see, let us know. If you have a specific topic you'd like to hear about, feel free to send our Facebook group a message, and we can keep track of those, and maybe we could explore those as a topic one day.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. Wow. I have those once in a while.
Yay! Well, it was a lot of fun, and thanks for everyone who joined us live here on the first live stream. We are like so happy that you made it, and I hope you had a fun time too. So, and we'll see you next time. We will post on the Facebook page when we have our next live stream, so you can join us then, hopefully again. Okay.
I hope to see all your pretty faces next week, or next. Oh, I said next week because I Twitch every week. Next, whenever. We'll let you know.
Well, we'll see you on the internet soon.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.